Well, I've been slacking off a bit since I brought home the bus. Slacking off, I mean working on my son's car. But I have been doing little things to the bus, and I've been going back down to the scrapyard in Mountaintop, Pennsylvania, to get small parts because they're very reasonable, and while the stuff is still there, I want to get whatever I can get at a really good price for my bus, which is going to be a future project, but I will sneak in an hour here, an hour there on it to clean it up and get rid of some of the rust. But for today, we're going to do the shifting bushing. And my bushing shot, but a coupler in the back that couples it with the transmission is in excellent shape, so I'll be leaving that. But, well, I guess enough with the talking. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do is uncouple this. I'm going to cut the safety wire. Get rid of that. Now, I think this would be the easiest way to hold that. You could use a screwdriver, but that way seems good to me. Oh, I'm on the wrong side. It's in backwards. It's usually the other way. Okay, now I'm going to take this out, which is an 8mm square head with the hole through it for the safety wire. I have to get a wrench. All right, we have the 8mm. Just fits on that nicely. Not that tight. Safety wire was doing its job. Okay, I think you can see it. Has a hole in it for the safety wire. Just put that on the side. Get the 8mm. See if we can get this loose. There we go. Okay, we removed this. Comes out with a washer. Okay, so now we want to turn it that we can. Pull this out. The sleeve's in there pretty good. Let me open my pliers up a bit. Okay. The sleeve also comes with a washer. It's important that you put that back. Put it here with the rest of them. Now the shifter will come out of there easily. I've seen on different videos that people like to tell you to put a string on there to pull it through, which is okay if that makes you feel good doing it that way, but I think it's okay to do without that. It's not really a hard job. All right, we're gonna continue. I'll show you up front. I pulled the shifter out, clean things up a bit before I get started, but there's where the shifter fits in. There's my shifter. I love that skull on it. And I have a pair of them hose pliers I'm gonna use to take the rod out and to put it back in. It makes life so much easier. Okay, now that it's free in the back, I'm just gonna push it. Get it started. Gotta tip this down and get it started on its way out. These pliers are fantastic for this. Just put it around, reach back as far as you can, push it forward. Just keep doing that. There is obstacles, but on the way out, you usually don't hit them. It's on the way back in, the second half. Okay, I think you can see we got the shifter out there, the coupling part. Now, push it a little bit further. And we got to get it out the front. Well, there's the hole that the shifting rod will come out of. The way we push it forward, it should be very close. I should be able to just reach in there and grab it. But I want to mention one thing. Most of the older vehicles had a plate where you could see the two bolt holes to keep water, moisture, and varmints out of there. But the Super Beetles, they put a new thing in the front. I will show you that in a minute. And it's a safety thing. I don't know what it's called, but it's supposed to help in case of a front end collision. It's supposed to help the impact not be so hard on the driver and passengers. All right, let me see if I can reach in there and grab that thing. This is through the Super Grill. That's why we got some lines in there. Yep, it's right here. I can get it. There it is. It's coming out. The Super's a little tight under the grill, but it'll come. There it is, it's free. All right, I can stand up and get it out. Sorry for the shaking. I'm not good at holding the camera. Here's the collision part I was talking about. A lot of guys leave it out, like I said, and they'll just put a plate over there with two screws to keep varmints and the weather out. But this is, it's a safety thing, so I believe we should use it. And here's the two holes in the back for where it mounts over that hole that the shifting rod came out. I'm sorry I didn't show unbolting it, but I will show bolting it back in. And also, if Super Beetles take a different tow bar than the original Beetles, it takes a plate that bolts on underneath the front end and the tow bar. Well, you need this part in order to put the plate on that goes on the front of the Volkswagen. And if you don't have this plate, you can't put it on. So you do need this if you ever plan on towing your Super Beetle. Okay, here's our bushing. Here's the ring that goes around it. We could put that right on. Gotta squeeze it together. Not the easiest thing to get on, but we'll get it. Just takes a little patience, perseverance. There we go. Okay, it is on. The groove in the center is where it fits in the bracket that's underneath the tunnel. That'll snap in the bracket. It'll close back here because of the groove. Snap in there and it'll stay there. Now, you want to put a little grease inside there to start off with. And it wouldn't hurt a little bit on the back either. So we'll grease it up pretty good. Okay, it's ready to go in. Okay, there's a piece in here. I've seen people film it, but I just can't get a good shot at it. But there's a hole in there to accept that pushing. And I'm going to put it in now. You could usually put it in with your finger, and you got to put 2 fingers on it and give it a good push. Well, let's get it in there. I think it's a good idea to give the open end a groove on the top of it. Now I might have to stick my finger in it to get it started. It is an awkward position. It's a tough one. Maybe if I reposition my body. Oh, there we go, we got it. The bushing is in. Glad. It's a bit of a job, but it went in. You just gotta be patient. You'll figure out how to do it. Okay, now we gotta put the rod back through. Okay, you can see from shoving it in the front, it's that far. Next thing we're gonna do is get them hole pliers, and we're gonna shove it back. Now the back end is usually where they get blocked up. So that tail end of it has to be kept high. Not low in the tunnel, but high in the tunnel. I'll show you how I do that. Okay, the first thing we gotta do is put our pliers in there, grab the shaft, and it going through the bushing. Okay, it's hard to get that head in there. What you gotta do is put your pliers all the way back up against there and shift it. It's a little tough getting in there, but she's in there now. You just keep working it this way. It's a super tight fit. So we're going to grease up the shaft a little bit. And by pushing it this way, it's tight. But it's going. Got the grease. It's getting a little tough, so I'm going to be greasing it. Okay, you're gonna boy, that grease made a big difference. Time for a little more grease. You gotta kind of lift up on the back, push. Lift up, 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 push. I'll put a little more grease on it. I think we're going good. Can you see? There's the head right there. We just got to spin it. Push back a little further. Wow, that's nice and tight now. There ain't no slop in that at all. It's gonna be a beautiful shifter, like factory. Right over here, might as well put a little grease in there. All right. Well, I'm very sorry I don't have film or footage of putting that in, but my light tipped over and hit the camera and turned the camera off, and I didn't even realize. But it's all back together. This side, you could use a screwdriver, but I use needle nose vice grip to hold those two pieces. Then the other side is an 8mm bolt. put that back in. And the other 8mm bolt with the square head. And it's very important that you put that safety wire on there, because that safety wire keeps that bolt, if it does vibrate loose, it won't turn. And it'll keep your shifter intact. If that isn't there and that bolt loosens up, you won't be able to shift your car and you'll be stranded wherever you're at. So good idea, put that safety wire on there. Okay, let's hook the shifter back up. Believe it or not, this is another redo. The battery was going dead. I hope that was the problem. So I took this back apart. I had it all back together. I took it all back apart to show you. You have to grease this really well. You have to grease your ball really well and the collar that goes inside this metal part. Because you want no metal against metal. You want some grease on there, some lubricant. First thing you got to do, put this plate back. Large side passenger. That's all you got to remember. Now, you put the spring over those flats. Shove the ball in the hole. Now, I like to put it centered on the slotted holes. Put the bolts back in. That way you have a little adjustment if you need it. Tighten them down at 13. You want to make sure that the top plate is inside the bottom plate. There's a lip on each end. You want to make sure you're in there flush. You know I love that skull. I'd like to put a light in it, run a wire up through the shifter, put a little LED inside there and hook it up to your parking light so when you put the lights on, you're in good shape. Wow, I'll tell you, there ain't no missing no shifts now. It's so easy to find them shifts. Another job well done. Our next move, we're going to go to that crush plate, that safety plate I was talking about underneath, and I'll show you how that goes. Before I put this back in, I want to make note that this 3 nuts, welded on nuts, and then this 3 welded on nuts is 6 nuts, welded on nuts, that the tow bar gets welded on. That's why I say on a Super Beetle, if you want to put a tow bar attachment on there, you need to run this crush-proof box on the front, which a lot of people take off. It has no other use, except it blocks the hole going into the tunnel, and it's extra steel that if you were in a front-end collision, it would help. Every little bit would help, of course. All right, thank you. I'm going to hook this thing up. Okay, both them are tight. Next ones are for the tow bar adjustment for a Super Beetle. And one thing I forgot to mention when I was showing you this bracket before I installed it was that when you put the tow extension on there, the piece for the towing, you need to put on a little longer bolts, at least 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch longer than the original ones, like in these holes. I'll show you. All right, you can see the difference in the bolts. The longer ones are the new ones, of course. And I like to use washers and lock washers, especially that we're going to be towing. And I'll show you the bracket. This is the bracket for Super Beetles. Has 4 holes on one side, 2 holes on the other side, and these, a piece from the tow bar fit in here and get pinned in place. There's one on each side. So that's the tow bar you need for a Super Beetle. Super Beetles are definitely different than the older, more classic Volkswagen tow bar. This is what you need for a Super Beetle. We're having no problem with it, so we have to tighten it. It fits up, the socket is small, the extension is thinner than the socket, so it fits up between those two 1/4-inch pieces of steel. Okay, here's the tow bar. There's the bolt I said would be a little bit rough. There's 3 on this side and 3 on the other side. It bolts on just like that. And the centerpiece is made of a piece of channel, and that bolts over your stabilizing bar. And then, of course, your tow bar will go up in between those two, both sides. Hope that helps somebody somewhere along the line.